Last spring, I pulled over 3 pounds of fresh green onions out of a single windowsill container, and every last one of them started as a grocery store scrap I would have thrown in the trash. Meanwhile, my neighbor spent nearly $40 at the garden center on seed packets, starter trays, and grow lights, and her harvest came in weeks later than mine. The difference wasn't luck. It was understanding which supermarket vegetables actually regrow bigger and better the second time around. I stumbled into this after reading a piece of research from the University of Georgia's Horticulture Department about basal meristem tissue, which is just a fancy way of saying the growth points at the base of certain vegetables. Once I understood what that tissue was actually doing, I started experimenting in my own kitchen, and the results honestly surprised me. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly which vegetables to pick from your grocery run, how to prepare them for regrowth, and the specific water and light conditions that turn a discarded stump into a second harvest that's often larger than the first. And stay with me until the end, because I'll share a little trick involving a single common pantry ingredient that can nearly double your second-round yield on leafy crops. Now, before we get into the how, I want to be straight with you. I did this the wrong way for a long time. For years, I was one of those people who tossed celery bases, lettuce cores, and green onion roots straight into the compost. I thought scrap gardening was cute, but not really productive. I figured you might get a sad little sprout, something you'd show the grandkids, but nothing you'd actually eat. If that's where you are right now, you're not alone. I was right there with you. Then, I started reading about how commercial hydroponic growers handle lettuce and herbs, and I realized something. The same biology those big operations rely on is sitting in your crisper drawer right now. You just need to know which vegetables have it and how to unlock it. Here's what I learned that completely reset my thinking. Certain vegetables store a concentrated bundle of growth cells at their base. Scientists call this the basal meristem. When you cut the vegetable for eating, that tissue is still alive and still programmed to produce new leaves and stems. All it needs is water, light, and a little patience. And here's the part that really got me. Because the root base already has mature vascular tissue and stored energy, the second growth often comes in faster and, in many cases, larger than what you'd get from a seed starting at zero. After 3 seasons of testing this consistently, I get regrowth on green onions in about 7 to 10 days and romaine hearts in under 2 weeks. That's faster than any seed I've ever sown. All right, let me show you exactly how to do this, starting with the best performers. The first vegetable I want you to grab on your next grocery run is green onions, sometimes called scallions. These are the absolute champions of supermarket regrowth. When you buy your bunch, look for ones with the white root base still intact, with little white or pale yellow hairs coming off the bottom. Avoid any that have been trimmed flush, because without those root hairs, you're starting from behind. When you get home, use your scissors and cut the green onion about 2 inches above the white root section. Eat the green tops like you normally would. Take that 2-inch base and place it root side down in a small glass or jar. Add about 1 inch of water, just enough to cover the roots, but not so much that the cut tops are submerged. Set it on a bright windowsill that gets at least 4 to 6 hours of indirect light a day. Here's the part most people miss. You have to change that water every 2 days. The conventional advice is to just top it off, but what I've found works better is dumping it completely and refilling with fresh, cool water. Stagnant water breeds bacteria that rot the base before it can regrow. Within about 3 days, you'll see new green shoots pushing up from the center, and by day 7 to 10, you'll have green onions taller than what you originally bought. I've regrown the same base 3 times before it finally gave out. Next up is romaine lettuce, and specifically the romaine hearts you buy in those 3 packs. This is where the basal meristem principle really shines. Take your romaine heart and cut it about 2 inches above the base when you're using the leaves for salad. Place that base, cut side up, in a shallow dish with about 1/2 inch of water. The reason this works comes down to the way romaine stores energy. The dense bottom of the head is packed with carbohydrates the plant was going to use for flowering. When you give it water, it redirects all that energy into fresh leaf production. Within 2 days, you'll see tiny pale green leaves emerging from the center. Within 10 to 14 days, you'll have a loose cluster of fresh romaine leaves that you can harvest again. Now, here's something to be honest about. The second harvest on romaine won't be a full head. You'll get about 1/3 to 1/2 the volume of the original. But it's completely free, it took zero effort, and the leaves are sweeter and more tender than what you cut off initially. After about 2 cycles, transplant the base into a small pot with potting soil if you want to keep going. In water alone, it gives out after the second round. The third powerhouse is celery. Buy a full bunch with the base intact, and when you get home, cut the stalks about 2 inches above the white root end. Put that celery base in a shallow bowl with about 1/2 inch of water cut side up in a bright window. Change the water every 3 days. Within 5 to 7 days, you'll see new pale yellow leaves emerging from the very center. These are your new celery stalks starting. Here's where you have a choice. You can keep it in water for about 2 more weeks and harvest the tender inner leaves for soups and stocks, or you can transplant it into a pot with rich potting soil once you see roots forming at the base. If you transplant it, you'll get a full second bunch of celery in about 8 to 10 weeks in zones 7 through 10, or you can bring it indoors under a grow light if you're in zones 3 through 6. Before we keep going, I want to pause for a second. What I'm showing you today is just one piece of something much bigger I've put together. If you're enjoying this and want to go deeper, I've created the 30-day kitchen scrap garden protocol, a 171-page guide that covers 31 regrowable crops, a $10 starter kit list so you don't overspend, complete zero-waste kitchen strategies, and a full troubleshooting section for when things don't go right. You can grab it by scanning the QR code on your screen right now, or clicking the link in the description below. It's $17, and honestly, it pays for itself in about 2 grocery runs. All right, let's keep going. The 4th vegetable to put on your list is bok choy. This one genuinely surprised me. Take your bok choy, cut it about 1.5 inches from the base, and place the base in a shallow dish with about 1/2 inch of water. Within 3 days, you'll see new leaves emerging from the center. And within 10 days, you'll have a second rosette of tender leaves that are honestly more flavorful than the original. Transplant into soil after 2 weeks if you want continued production. The 5th one is leeks, which work almost exactly like green onions, but on a larger scale. Cut the white root end, leaving about 2 inches of the base intact. Place it in a jar with 1 inch of water, and change that water every 2 days. Leeks regrow more slowly than green onions, usually about 14 to 21 days for a harvestable second cutting, but the regrowth is thick and substantial. And the last one I want to cover is cabbage. Take your cabbage core, place it in a bowl with about 1/2 inch of water, cut side up, and within a week you'll see small leafy sprouts pushing up from the center. These cabbage sprouts are incredibly tender and honestly taste better than mature cabbage leaves. Let them grow to about 3 to 4 inches, then harvest and toss them in salads or stir-fries. Now let's talk about the patterns I see most often from folks just starting out. The first pattern is using too much water. Folks will fully submerge the vegetable base, thinking more water means faster growth. What actually happens is the plant rots from the top down. The rule is simple. Only the roots should touch water, never the cut surface. The second pattern is skipping the water change. People set up their scrap in a jar and then ignore it for a week. The water goes cloudy, bacteria takes hold, and the whole thing fails. I did this myself for probably my first 6 months. Fresh, cool water every 2 to 3 days is non-negotiable. The third pattern is not enough light. A dark corner of the kitchen won't cut it. These vegetables need at least 4 to 6 hours of bright, indirect light per day. An east or south-facing windowsill works beautifully in zones 5 through 10. If you're in a darker climate or it's deep winter, a simple $10 clip-on grow light solves this completely. The fourth pattern is giving up too soon. The first 2 to 3 days look like nothing is happening. The base might even look a little tired. Stay with it. Growth happens from the inside out, and by day 4 or 5, you'll see dramatic change. All right, here's the bonus tip I promised you at the start. After the first round of regrowth on leafy vegetables like romaine, bok choy, and cabbage, most people just keep using plain water for the second round and wonder why the yield drops off. Here's what I discovered through trial and error. After that first harvest, add 1/4 teaspoon of plain white sugar to 1 cup of fresh water when you refill the jar. Just a pinch. That tiny amount of sugar gives the plant a carbohydrate boost that mimics what its own roots would be producing if it were still in soil. I tested this across 3 seasons on romaine hearts, and the second round regrowth was consistently 40 to 60% larger than the bases I kept on plain water. Do not overdo it. More sugar feeds bacteria and ruins the whole jar. 1/4 teaspoon per cup, added only after the first cutting, is the sweet spot. So there you have it. 6 supermarket vegetables that regrow bigger and better the second time around, and a little sugar trick to supercharge your yields. If this was helpful, I'd really love to hear which one you're going to try first, so drop a comment below and let me know. And again, if you want the complete system with all 31 regrowable crops, the full starter kit guide, zero waste kitchen strategies, and a troubleshooting section for everything that can possibly go wrong, grab the 30-day kitchen scrap garden protocol by scanning the QR code on your screen or clicking the link in the description. It's $17, and it's everything I wish someone had handed me when I started doing this years ago. Before I go, I want you to look at your next grocery bag a little differently. What looks like trim and scraps is actually 3 more harvests hiding in plain sight. Give one of these a try this week, tell me how it goes in the comments, and until next time, keep on growing.